Thank you, Dan. Thank you, everyone, for your attention in advance. I am Leslie Sherlin. I'm the CEO and Chief Science Officer for Neuro Therapeutics. Neuro Therapeutics, just to give you an upfront introduction to why I'm here, we're basically a technology company that has data. And like most in the Bay Area, we're providing a software as a solution and hardware for better brain analytics as well as performance enhancements. The company currently serves two populations, both providers of healthcare services as well as consumers who are looking in wellness services. We've been revenue generating since this past year, and we have both patented EEG sensors as well as process patents that are pending. Currently with thousands of users across multiple apps, we're actively producing and shipping products, and currently in a Series A round for a growth opportunity, as well as implementing consumer applications of data monetization. So basically our company's purpose, we're looking to solve barriers to the implementation of biotechnology in innovative health and lifestyle integrations. So what this means specifically is that we're wanting to take all of the physiological parameters that our body creates, like brain data, heart data, respiration data, and put that into a media which the user, a client, a patient, can then make better informed decisions about how to manage themselves. So as a bit of a premise that this audience may not need is that your brain makes electricity. And those electrical patterns shift and change depending both on characteristics that you possess, but also the state that you're in. So for example, focus looks different than boredom, looks different from stressed, et cetera, and so on. Now those unique electrical signatures can be both identified, but also can be modulated, meaning they can be trained to be different. So by engaging in operant conditioning and feedback applications, you can change the performance of the brain attributes with regard to cognitive functioning. And more specifically, we can even have an interaction. So as an end user, I can engage with my environment, which I'll explain a bit. These scientific principles are not in dispute. We didn't invent them. They're not novel to us. Our delivery platform, the mechanism, and the analytics and algorithms are what make us unique. So the pre-existing problem is that EEG technology is expensive, it's cumbersome, it requires domain expertise, and this is something that is in an office typically of a mental health provider or a hospital, and it's not scalable. That's the big problem. And so what we aim to do is solve this by creating a mobile yet clinical grade EEG device. We call that Versus. Now we've been around for a bit developing the IP, the algorithms, working with thousands of elite performers, both in business, Fortune 100 companies, elite athletes, professionals, Olympians, et cetera, gathering this information about how do not only pathologies work, but how do elite performers' brains operate and the nuances there. From that created both a software application that's in a mobile device, or a mobile app, the mobile device with the sensors, and a dashboard for tracking and assessing those analytics. Now the competitive space for us revolves in two places. One, there's the left side here, which is the consumer market, where the types of products that are currently out there don't have a direct application, or they haven't been demonstrated to be scientifically credible. Or on the right side of this diagram, we have the clinical products, which are both expensive, not scalable, and not consumable for an end user or a client to be utilizing on their own. So we scale this in a couple of ways. One, there's the mobile app, which has both games, analytics, exercises, things for the client to engage in, to both assess, monitor, and improve performance. The hardware component, and then the data warehouse. This is probably the most interesting piece of it because it has such a wide application across different market segments, both in how to monetize this data and understand both from the consumer end, the client piece, as well as the analytics for the provider of healthcare services. The device is medical signal quality, both all the paperwork, testing, all of those pieces in place for the necessary regulatory agencies at the appropriate time, and then the algorithms or the unique IP is our ability to identify these brain patterns and then modulate them, push that information back to the user. Now the next big play for us is really around this physiological markers. So what I explained up to this point, already in the marketplace, being utilized, engaging, we have users doing this on a daily basis. But the next big play is really around the data. So if you can imagine having physiological monitors, which you are wearing all the time, or at certain select moments of the day, where you can monitor your biorhythms and not only understand how your brain is performing, where your particular strengths or weaknesses are, but you can also engage and interact with each other or with your environment. So if I'm at home, I'm wearing the device, I can now set my environment to match if it's time for me to go to bed and I'm beginning to get drowsy, rather than pushing on and sending that one more email, which I regret in the morning. I can now have an interaction that says, no, you should probably wait, or conversely, my environment may react with me, pushing information to me, changing my environment to get my physiology to respond in the desired direction. And lastly, again, around this push-pull messaging and analytics. So we're monitoring responses and behaviors, but also this is valuable information for content developers, advertisers, as well as healthcare providers who might be utilizing this information in-home. So how does the business work? We have a multi-user hardware, which I explained, the Versus, and it sells at a $7.99 retail. Thousands and thousands of dollars less than a traditional EEG device. It has its limitations, of course, but is something that is obtainable. In order to engage in the app experience and provide these exercises or these games to play and these monitoring and assessments, it's $19.95 per user per month. And then you have the opportunity for in-app purchases, which can be added on for as little as $1 or all the way up to $15 for some assessments. Now, the data tracking and customization dashboard is another monetization tool and also a valuable tool for our providers in healthcare, because now they're able to have a client put the device on remotely and gather information and monitor that from their office. We've already established a couple of partnerships. Although we are not in the epilepsy and diagnostics of epilepsy, we have an epilepsy partner who has software, and we provide that hardware platform for them so that they can collect data, and then a physician can review that after the fact while the client is not even in the office. And then that is the description there of that monetization of this data. So both how can we be smart about getting a better experience with consumers in the home, but also from a healthcare standpoint of providing better care, understanding things like attention or stress or epilepsy as an example. So sales and distribution, how does this work for us? Currently, we have direct consumers, so people can simply log on to our website and purchase. And we do have people doing this daily through our own internal sales team. We found an interesting concept where affiliate program where we have a referral network, basically a group of individuals and companies who put this into a package so they're already working in populations of attention deficits or in substance abuse or use. And so they're putting this into their programs and then taking a piece of that revenue. Partner programs, like I mentioned with our partners in the epilepsy space, where they're utilizing part of the software or hardware to satisfy their end solution, and then in licensing. So businesses who, in fact, are putting this product into market into specific niches, which we aren't doing ourselves, but licensing that piece off for them to put it into that place. Okay? All right. Thank you very much for your time.